So I want to talk a little bit about a very common question I get whenever I put any kind of black and white work on my blog, and that's filters. Now, of course, back in the day when we shot film, we would have orange and red and yellow filters, all those to help build up the contrast when we made the actual capture, because we shot on black and white film. These days, we don't have that same thing. We're shooting everything, whether we want to or not, in color and doing the transformation of black and white in post. So filters, okay, are really an important thing. Now, we use them in color photography, we use them in black and white for the same reason. Now, this is where I need you to sit there and kind of use your imagination a little bit. We got here in Oregon, we've got the great storms that we were looking for most of this class, but we didn't get the nice blue clouds to show the demos for these. So, play along with me. Now, we have two filters that we're going to be working with, the split grad and the polarizer. Now, what do we do with those? Well, the polarizer, let's start with that. Polarizer can be a very powerful tool for your black and white photography. Now, if you watch my other classes, you have heard me talk about how to rotate that polarizer to remove reflections. Still the best way of using it. But for black and white photography, you might want to use it the way lots of people do, and that's to darken the sky. So if you can imagine behind me, okay, we've got a blue sky, basic blue sky. We've got the sea stacks, we've got the ocean and the waves, all right? Now the subject is going to be the waves and the sea stacks, all that in the foreground. Okay, you'll see that in the still. But the sky, we want to darken it. We want the contrast to pull out. By taking that polarizer, okay, and personally, I like the Nikon Slim polarizer because it is so thin. I can put it on my 18 millimeter. Whew. All right, the Nikon thin polarizer, you can see how skinny it is, okay? So it won't vignette. I can use it on my 18 millimeter or any other of my 77 mil filters. I'm going to rotate this till that sky out there gets dark as possible. Now you have to be careful doing that part of the sky is not dark and the other part is light, because you deal with the sun and it has to do with physics. But the polarizer can be a very dramatic tool to use with your black and white photography. And we're doing it just that way. Now you can use it the normal way to remove reflections. Let's say you're down there and you're shooting the water and you've got the waves of the subject, you want to darken that water, you can rotate the polarizer to darken the water, and of course that will make it more dramatic in your black and white. But the main way of using it for black and white photography is to darken that sky, to beef up the contrast. The other filter that is, used no matter what, okay, is the split grad, okay? The 0.9 or the 3 stop. Now, I like the soft edge. So it's 3 stops, gradates to 0, and then it's clear, okay? The split grad is another fabulous tool, again, for darkening that sky. Now, if you notice, I have my filter holder right here, okay? I don't use the plastic one, this is it. I grab it by the sides, then I'm gonna hold it right in front of the lens and move it up and down in front of that lens to what I want. That's just my own personal style. But this will darken the sky, giving the contrast. One thing we haven't talked about, but I want to mention briefly, on the same idea as the split grad, which is there to compact our exposure, what's another tool we have in our bag that we can use to compact exposures? That's HDR, right? So HDR, okay, take our 5 images, and then you can take that back into post, just like you see in the Photoshop lessons, and convert that into a black and white photograph. So all three of these tools, the polarizer, the split grad, or HDR, are used to help us build up the contrast, bring up more impact by taking certain areas like the sky and darken them so the subject will pop out. So let me finish up talking briefly about some gear. You probably said to yourself, looking at this segment, wow, I didn't know Moose could work with so little gear. Okay, my film crew is going like, Moose, we didn't know you could work with such little gear. If you think about it, okay, I shot with what? I shot with 18 millimeter, 24-70, and a 7200. Those 3 lenses. There are many manufacturers who makes it 18 to 200, 300 zoom. One lens, did it all. So landscape photography really isn't about having a lot of gear. It's about having a lot of passion. That's the whole thing about landscape photography. I'm sure you've seen my segments from the Monument Valley, the Romance of the Landscape, and passion is what makes any landscape come to life. So one simple lens, an 18-200, a camera body, and a tripod, and you can do landscape photography. It's in your heart, you just have to put it in those pixels.